Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming out. My name is Brian Mark. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Science, and this is a special day. We've been working towards developing this speaker series for actually a number of years now, and with the pandemic slowly subsiding away, this is the opportunity for us to come together and start to share some of the wonderful entrepreneurship and entrepreneurism that our science graduates are doing outside of academia, and to provide students with the opportunity to learn a little bit about the career paths that are available to you as you progress through your degrees and move on into your careers. So before I start, I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are located on the lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories, and we acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we are dedicated to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. All right, so welcome again to the inaugural lecture for the new Faculty of Science Entrepreneurship Speaker Series. But before I introduce Chris, who's our first speaker of the series, I want to give a very special thanks to another alumni who is with us today, Doug Collier, who, in keeping with today's event, is an entrepreneur at heart. And through a generous donation from Doug, we have been able to endow this speaker series, which will enable us to share and celebrate the fascinating career paths and entrepreneurship of our science graduates. So thank you very much, Doug. It's wonderful that you were able to make it today. I also want to give a big thank you to Chris Schmidt, our alumni and awards lead, for working closely with Doug to formulate this new series, and Jolan Gallagher, our Director of Business Development and Strategic Partnerships for the Faculty of Science, for co-hosting today's event, and to Jennifer McCrae, our Communications Lead, for promoting today's event. And of course, I want to thank all of you for coming to join us. So in addition, before we get started with the speaker series, I want to just let you know of some additional things that are going on in the Faculty of Science in regards to industry, academic partnerships, and entrepreneurship. So Science is now also offering a new course starting in winter of 2023 named the Science Entrepreneurial Mindset, which was developed by Krista Kruk and Dr. Terry DeKevitt in our faculty in partnership with the Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship. The course introduces science students to the basics of entrepreneurship and will allow them to engage with alumni who themselves are entrepreneurs and who work in the private sector. The course will be co-offered alongside another course in the Price Faculty of Engineering, and so the content of the courses will be the same, and science and engineering students can take the course together to encourage science and engineering students to share ideas across faculties. Because what often happens in universities, and we're not alone in this, is that individual disciplines, lawyers, engineers, scientists, they all sort of go through their education separately, and they never really engage much with each other while they're here with us. But once they get out into the private sector working, they often do engage with each other in various industries. And so I would like to see more engagement between these students while they're in university, and this is one way that I think we can achieve that. So that'll be happening in the winter of 2023. It's a 4,000 level course, but there's no prerequisites for the course. It's a very introductory course. So I encourage all students that are here to think about enrolling and also to tell your friends about it. I think it's going to be great. Further, we have another exciting new development in science, which we've also been working on for a number of years, and my predecessor, Dean Steffi Baum, was also instrumental in helping to facilitate our building the culture of applied science and engaging with industry and entrepreneurship. And we have now recently launched the Faculty of Science Innovation Hub, which fosters research innovation and entrepreneurship, and to generate new industry academic partnerships with our researchers and industry. The hub will offer an internal funding competition, workshops, and other great events to build an innovation ecosystem aimed at connecting our researchers and our students with new opportunities to really realize their ideas and potential. There is actually going to be an event that showcases the new Innovation Hub. Jolan, when's the date for that?
November 24th from 3 to 5 in the Eureka Center.
Thank you. I can't see that. Thank you. Yes. So please attend, and Jolyn can fill you in on more information about what we're doing in that regard. And finally, we are bringing ourselves back to today's event, and it's my pleasure to welcome Chris Schmidt as today's speaker. Our format today will be a presentation by Chris, followed by a Q&A session that will be hosted by Jolyn Gallagher. So Chris started his first business at the age of 10 and is still protecting Winnipeg's trees from Dutch elm disease. After completing his Bachelor of Science from the University of Manitoba in 2016, he founded the world's first Snapchat filter company called GeoFilter Studio. GeoFilter Studio grew at an unprecedented rate of 24,000% and had 85 employees within his first year. It was Canada's fastest growing company in 2017 and created over 100,000 filters that accumulated 5 billion views worldwide. Chris then formed Every Studio, which housed GeoFilter Studio, Every Studio AR, and Every Studio Stickers. Every Studio AR created an augmented reality product, while Every Studio Stickers made iOS stickers packs with over 150 million views in the App Store. Every Studio was acquired in 2019. In 2018, Chris started the artificial intelligence company Pluto Ventures and are building Parallel, a social commerce platform with users now spanning in 191 countries. When not working on his companies, Chris enjoys helping others with their business journeys, including here at the University of Manitoba. In fact, he was a guest lecturer while we were piloting the entrepreneurship course for the last couple of summers. So I want to thank Chris for his participation at the university already. It's been fantastic. And he has also given over 125 presentations throughout his flourishing career thus far. So without further delay, please welcome Chris Schmidt to the stage. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And he is a computer science graduate. Thank you, Rasit.
I wish. All right. I'm really excited to be here today. I never thought I'd be back to the Faculty of Science ever doing a presentation because I was definitely not smart enough in sciences to do a presentation on that. But I'll do a presentation on business instead. So I'm really excited to be here. I believe that being an entrepreneur, you can come from any educational background, and being a science student, just like you guys not that long ago, I hope that you'll get inspired by what I talk about today, and that you guys can obviously ask questions at any point, and I'll be here after the fact to also talk to you. So we're going to kick things off. So I started my training at the age of 3 years old. I have two older brothers who both went through science, and they're both physicians. That guy's me. So after 7 years of training, I thought it was time for me to start my own business at the age of 10. So I started Schmidt Tree Banding, which is the largest company in Winnipeg that protects our trees against Dutch elm disease. Kind of a fun fact about Winnipeg is we have the largest urban canopy out of any city in the world. So that means we have the most amount of trees within our city limits. And this company keeps those trees healthy. I then started a website called the Mute Store, which was the Manitoba University Exchange website store, while at the University of Manitoba in sciences. This was to facilitate the exchange of textbooks between students. This is kind of before Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace happened. I'm kind of embarrassed by the look of this site, but give it a break, it's 2012. It says 2012 copyright down there, so I know the date. The funny thing about this story was we actually came to U of M campus at midnight the day before the first day of classes, and we just plastered the university with pamphlets. I woke up to phone calls from the administration because they were not happy, but it was funny because I was sitting in an ARMS lecture hall for science, and the teachers thought it was a U of M made product. And so they were actually pitching my store back to the students, and I was sitting in the back row thinking this was pretty cool. So like any good tech company, it starts in your house. I would call over my best friends to help do data entry, and my parents put up with having 20 people in their house at midnight. I did graduate from the University of Manitoba. Here's proof There's a diploma, and there is a diploma inside here. I promise there's a piece of paper. It is all very legit. I then went on, I started a company called BizPicker, which was supposed to be a geopositioning ad product. Classic tech company once again, started literally in the basement of my parents' house. It's an old River Heights house, and things got cold in the winter, so you can see we actually still have the heater down here. But it's one of these old heaters that when you have it on, it smells like it's burning. So what you do is in the winter, you move back upstairs to the main floor again. And they put up with the shenanigans for a little bit longer. Now, I was self-funding this company, and it was getting expensive, so I thought, hey, I want to sell some Snapchat filters, make some money, and then get back to BizPicker. We never went back. I started GeoFilter Studio, which was the world's first and became the largest producer of Snapchat filters. These are some of the very first Snapchat filters ever made. An interesting thing about this Assiniboine Park Snapchat filter, this was the second version. On the first version, we spelled it wrong. We put an A after the I in here. And so for 6 months, it said, I guess Assiniboine Park spelled wrong. And I kept telling Snapchat that there's a spelling mistake. They just didn't care. So we started this company. We got an office. This is a 300 square foot office. Don't be deceived. This is a wide lens, so it looks much, much bigger than what it is. The question is, how many people can you get in 300 square feet? The answer is 13. Now, to code, legally, you can only have 1 or 2. The 13th person actually just sat on a couch. And we kept growing, and then we got another room in the building, and we grew to 23 people, and then we kept growing, and 12 months in, I have 85 employees, and we're creating Snapchat filters for every event in the world. This is a team photo before the party. We did not look this good after the party, about 6 hours later. Just a few quick metrics. This is our growth. This is 24,000% growth in 14 months. This is showing weekly order volume, kind of that hockey-shaped curve that everyone talks about. This was our hiring growth pattern, or hiring pattern from 0 to 85 employees in 14 months. Quick flex on my Google ad campaign. I'm going to brag about this. So I was building a Google ad campaign, and Google essentially just called me one day and said, do you understand what you have built? I was 21, never done this before, I had no idea. Long story short, this is actually the case study at Google today. It's considered the best Google ad campaign ever made from a metrics perspective, and it actually teaches new Google employees how to build Google ad campaigns. To give you a quick sense of the metrics and how silly they were, so we're running campaigns on Google getting a 30 to 40% click-through rate. You should be getting a 3 to 4% click-through rate, and we're converting users from 2 to 5%. You should be converting at 1%. So we're getting 10 times as many people into our site, and we're converting people at a 4 times rate. Those are pretty good metrics. We've made 100,000 filters that had 5 billion views. I think most of you know what geofilters are. These are the graphic overlays that you'll see on photos and videos in Snapchat. We did tons of weddings. Every event in Winnipeg, Bombers, Jets, Manifest, whatever you can think of, we did those filters. Every corporate event, every artist out there, so Kanye West at the Staples Center, we did those. Every Duke home game, we'd do those. Every new Starbucks and McDonald's, you kind of get the point, we did everything. We also did the main geofilter over 150 of the biggest cities in the world. Winnipeg doesn't make the list, unfortunately, but we did make Winnipeg's eventually. But here's Atlanta's, here's Los Angeles' Snapchat filter. Here's some brands we worked with. I then built every studio, and inside every studio housed GeoFilter Studio. We made these sticker packs. When you have 45 graphic designers in your office every day, you think, well, what else can we design? So we started to make these sticker packs. We hit the top of the App Store. This is a sushi life sticker packs. It's just different types of sushis with smiley faces on them. These are Crazy Fredgies, which are frolicking fruits and vegetables. This is just part of them. There's many more. This was an avocado sticker pack. We made 250 types of avocados. Everything from Obama and Trump to Bob Ross to the Pope and the Queen, whatever you can imagine. Yes, I did pay people to make these in my office. This went really, really well. We made 100 sticker packs that had 250 million views in the App Store, so that was a success. We also then moved into augmented reality. We worked with Facebook, and we made the very first AR filter with the Winnipeg Jets on Facebook. And then we worked with Snapchat, and we made the very first two augmented reality 3D objects for the Blue Bombers. We then did some fun work with companies like Disney, making movie premiere filters. And we did a ton of music artists. This one here is sort of a special one for me. This was the very last project I worked on. I then sold the company and moved on. So let's talk about Pluto. Because of those Google ad campaigns, I was really, really, really interested in this idea of hyper-personalization of goods and services. And I sort of had this belief that there was a missing data point that would kind of complete the circle to fully satisfy all of the data, and that was your body dimensional data. And so I was a little naive. I thought it'd be like a 6-month project, turned into a 3-year, very serious machine learning project. And essentially what we built was the ability to take 2 photos and generate all of your body dimensional data from those 2 photos. And having built this, the question was, well, what do we do with this thing? This isn't a business. This is just a tool. And sort of this catch-22, this is not how you build a company. You don't think of something after the fact of how we're going to use this and build a company. You should probably figure out the problem first and foremost. So this has tons of application, obviously, in sciences and healthcare and insurance, and there's so many applications, but I wanted to come back to what I was good at, which is consumer-facing products. And so we built Parallel. And the most common problem when shopping online is you don't know what size to buy. Everyone has this issue. And I wanted to solve that. So when you look at what you typically do when you look for a new shirt or some new pants is you go to the review section, you look for the comment that says, I'm 5'10", 170 pounds, I bought a medium and it fit me well. And you're essentially trying to envision yourself in their shoes and try to figure out, is this gonna fit me? Well, since we have all your body dimensional data, we can just match you to people that have the same body size as you. We can then show you what they bought, where they bought it, the size they bought. So if you want to buy that shirt, you can just buy that shirt and look like the guy that you've been matched to. I'm going to do a quick demo for Parallel and hope it all works. So we have both a website and an app. So all the photos you see on the website, these are real users, none of this fake generated content. Every single person on the website is a real human generating their content. We're gonna jump over to the shop page. This is a really interesting page. You can shop and explore. You can see how people are pairing different brands, MLB, Adidas, Nike. You can get this sort of inspiration that you get through Pinterest and Instagram shopping. But I'm gonna show you the magic. So when you create an account on Parallel, you can go into your account and you can upload your measurements. And so I'm just gonna jump through the tutorial. I built this system, so I know how to use it, so we're just gonna skip there. So at the heart of Parallel is our AI body measurement technology. So all you do is you upload 2 photos of yourself, a front and side-facing photo. Quick comments on the photo. People always talk about LiDAR and how phones have LiDAR. LiDAR is 2-dimensional depth sensing technology. It doesn't do 3D circumferences, so you can't use LiDAR to get the same measurements. The background, we take care of the background, so you can be standing in front of a tree if you want. The pose, as long as you're doing something like I'm doing, it's gonna work. We have a motto at Pluto, which is, it has to be simple enough for my mom to use it. That is the motto when we build product. So if my mom can't use a product, we don't ship it. The last question always is, how accurate is it? Well, it's 98% accurate when you take our measurements and compare them to a 3D body scanner. What that actually means is we're within like a centimeter on everything from just 2 photos. So you upload your photos, put your height in, and you hit submit. This is a live demo, so Should work. Should take about 4 seconds. This would be really awkward if it crashed. There we go. So to give you a sense of what just happened, there's a company that Amazon bought for $80 million 4 years ago. That company, what we just did, took them almost 2 minutes, and their accuracy was 95%. So when you think of from a technical perspective, there was so much that just happened in 4 seconds, but it's really, really, really complicated. So now that we've attached my body measurements to my profile, when I go and post an outfit like I have, basically people can shop my look. But I'm gonna show you how this works. So what makes us different and allows us to compete against Instagram and Pinterest and all the other shopping platforms is this very special button up here where I select it, and now my feed is curated to show me people with my body size. So we're gonna click in to Jonah. You can see exactly how similar we are. So same height, my chest is a little bit bigger, waist is a little bit bigger. I have actually pretty short legs, so my inseam's a little bit short. And what Jonah has done is he's gone through and he's tagged his items, he's tagged the size, and if I like this jacket, I click this button and I go buy it. We have 4,000 brand partnerships, so when we help facilitate that purchase, the brand gives us a kickback, and we give that kickback back to Jonah. We really, really, really lean into diversity on the platform. We're in 191 countries, which means we have people of all shapes and sizes. Here's Andrew G. He's a 45-year-old middle-aged guy. We have built a community where he feels comfortable posting his outfits. So there's trust, he feels safe. These are kind of the core values that we are trying to instill into the platform. One more quick example. Miriam is actually a physician out in Toronto. So Miriam does a really, really, really good job at matching everyday brands such as Zara, H&M, Brown's shoes, Levi's, and pairs them with high-end brands such as Gucci and Louis Vuitton. So this is a physician in Toronto that's really embraced the platform and is showcasing their style. So we have live chat on our website, and this comment came through our live chat form, and this really sums up everything we're doing in 2 sentences. First sentence, okay, the website is amazing. We know that doesn't help us. The second part, it has honestly made, it has helped me find clothing that looks good on my body. It has honestly made me feel so much better about myself. So at the end of the day, we're allowing you to find someone like yourself, find the clothing that will make you feel good. That's Parallel. It's taken off. It's in every country in the world that we can essentially be in. This is my amazing team. I'm easily the dumbest person at my office. There's 16 amazing people. This is when we hit 100,000 users a couple weeks ago. Interesting note about this day. So on this day, every single person got a bottle of champagne to celebrate. I was a little concerned at how the day would play out. It was actually one of the most productive days we've ever had at the office. All the bottles were dry by the end of the day, but it was actually a very, very, very efficient day. I don't know what that says about software development and a bottle of champagne, but the team did very well. Quick comment on our growth tactics. We're using TikTok. Jonah is actually a third-year U of M Asper student. He is running our TikTok account. He has amassed 500,000 followers, 150 million views. So he gets more views a day than Fox, MSNBC, and CNN combined. That's free exposure. With a whole bunch of science students in here, I want to know who can do math really, really quick. Here's one of Jonah's videos. This video has 112,000 hours of playtime. How many years is that? Can anyone do a quick calculation of how many years 112,000 hours is? Anyone? Okay, it's 13. So when you think of what is humanity doing, humanity has spent 13 hours watching Jonah do something really stupid. And to give you a sense of perspective, this one video has 8.9 million views. Jonah has 160 million, and he's actually a pretty small creator in the entire ecosystem. So when you think about the hope for humanity, well, I don't know what that says about it, but I think we could be doing better things than watching Jonah. So that's the end of sort of my journey. I think we're going to transition to a Q&A session now, but you can find me on social media. I am the one behind all of my accounts. If you send me a message, I will respond. And that's pretty much a quick summary.
Thanks very much, Chris. Fantastic. So I'm going to invite Jolyn Gallagher up to the stage now. Jolyn?
So I'm Jolyn Gallagher. It's fantastic to be able to chat with you today, Chris. It's just a fireside chat with you and I and that little audience over there. So I think one thing that's really relatable about your story is that you started off in a science undergrad program, and you were on maybe a little bit of a linear path, you know, maybe I'm gonna do well in my labs, I'm gonna get A's in my labs, I'm gonna go to medical school, I'm gonna graduate medical school and save lives, phew, the end, you know. But you didn't take that path, you took a non-traditional path and you went on the entrepreneurship path. So what do you think were the critical factors for you to be able to move from that linear path, which I think we sometimes crave because of its certainty and predictability, onto that entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so for me, it was really one day in June, and just a side note, I wish I got A's in the labs. They're really hard to get A's. So it came down to, I was debating, do I go into medicine or do I not? And it comes down to one short conversation with my dad where, looking back, really obvious, but in the moment, not so much for myself, where when I wasn't studying biochemical pathways, in my spare time, I was building companies for fun. And so he just sort of, both my parents are very supportive in whatever decision we make, but he sort of just edged me in the direction of, what would it look like if you spent all of your time building a company? And I was like, oh, like, that would be interesting, that'd be fun, but I never actually thought that that would be a job for me. And so he just sort of nudged me in that direction. And then shortly after that, I had 85 employees. And looking back, not going into medicine was the best decision I ever made. But it was just a little nudge of the obvious.
So you mentioned, you slipped it in there, that you very quickly had 85 employees within under a year. So once you were on that path to entrepreneurship and you'd embraced it and sort of said, this is what I'm gonna do, with your supporters on board, presumably there's factors that then influence your further success, whether it's luck and timing or perseverance, innate ability, privilege, other things. What do you think were the primary factors in your case that allowed you to go from 0 to 1, have 85 employees in under a year?
So the traits that relate really well from science to business, and the reason that my science degree wasn't a waste of time or money, those skills that you learn, so critical thinking, problem solving, being meticulous. If you're giving a dosage for cancer treatment to someone, you gotta make sure you have the right dosage. And so just these skills that you learn in science, being punctual, being on time for labs, those translate really well to business and to entrepreneurship. And so when we think of problems that we're solving at the business, at the company, I always phrase them from a hypothetical hypothesis perspective of things we want to prove and disprove. And so the way that actually I run my companies is very much like a science lab, where we have all these projects, all these things we're testing, we're looking at the data, and we're actually running it like a lab. So the skill set transferred well, and I just really, really enjoy building companies, which isn't something that you just like roll out of bed one day and say, hey, I'd love to do this. I've just been doing it, as you can see, from the age of 3, just working. So yeah, I'm a little addicted to working.
I think it's really valuable for our students in science, or all students, to sort of hear about what those transferable skills are for any path, right? And so we appreciate your coming to share that with us. And so I do notice that, you know, you're in the public eye these days. You're going on campus, giving tours, talking to students, engaging folks. You're a visible member of the startup community all over my LinkedIn feed. that was not always the case, maybe. And I've heard you talk to Margot Miller on her Startup Canada podcast
Yes.
about how you were not always so visible and maybe even shrunk a little bit from the public eye. So what would you say, is this a business tactic or is this a giving back? What would you say accounts for that difference?
So for the first 14 years of my business career, from the age of 10 to about 24, I did nothing in the public eye. So it was all behind the scenes, very quiet, keep your head down, just work really, really hard. And quite honestly, what happened was someone tipped someone at the Free Press off that I was building this geofilter company, and they sent one of their junior reporters from the Free Press to our office thinking it was this small-time thing. And Ben walked in, he was the reporter, and there was 85 people here. And he was like, what is going on? And so he actually went back to his reporter at the Free Press and said, this is not just a small story, this is like a Winnipeg success story. And that kind of pushed, I guess, myself and my companies into the public eye. What I say is I never, ever, ever seek press. I never call up the press and say, hey, can you do an interview on me? My mindset is work really, really, really hard, make a difference, and the press will come. So I don't seek the press, and my mindset is, you're not doing it for the flashy, sexy title of like being a CEO. When I talk to high school students, I always say, if you want to put CEO in your Instagram bio to attract, whether it's the ladies or the guys or whatever it is, don't do that. That's like not the point of this. You should come with like this attitude of you're going to work every second of every day. And I say I work 120 hours a week, and I've been doing that for 10 years, and I'll be doing that for the next 60 years. So I really, really push that hard work is fundamental, and that transfers over to medicine and other professions. So this startup world, this entrepreneurship world is definitely sexified when you have Evan Spiegel married to a supermodel, all these different Silicon Valley prominent figures. I go home late at night and I just will work until the sunrise, and then I go to the office and I'll just work with my team, and I just keep doing that. So it's a lot of work.
So you have the press coming to you, not the other way around, because of that success. You also mentioned a ton of hard work that went into it. So when you sold your company or went through the M&A process or whatever it was with Geofilter Studio, as I understand it, you made a pretty clean break from that company and went on to other things. So after achieving so much success, I think sometimes when we achieve success or mastery, we tend to or have a temptation to hang on to that maybe for longer than we should. So after pouring all that into it and achieving that success, what allowed you to make that clean break? Was it the right decision? Because as I understand it, you didn't remain involved in the company.
No, so part of the deal was they didn't get me because I wanted to move on to Pluto. And so part of the deal was you get the company, you get all the people, you get the cash cow, but you don't get me. And it was at that point where I was really noticing what I enjoy, which was the hardest phase of a company, which is going from 0 to 1. So this idea of you have an idea and you want to build something and actually get it out there, which is the most risky part of a startup. I love that phase. And so Geofilter Studio became very operational, where you show up every day, you turn the lights on, and it's just going to work. It just wasn't satisfying that craving of this intense, you need ideas and generation and risk, and that's just what I really was craving. And so what actually happened was once I finished with that company, I quickly realized that I loved the 0 to 1, and I was noticing I will only have so many chances to build a company, because if the average company length is 5 to 10 years, and if I work till I'm 90, I can actually only build 6 or 7 more companies. And that's a problem for an entrepreneur, because in my head, I have 10,000 ideas I want to do. And if I have 10,000 ideas, I only get to do 6 in my whole life. And so this mindset is like every second matters, because I just don't want to waste a year because I can be building a company. It's kind of and I always want to say this, that the way that I work is potentially toxic, and I wouldn't encourage other people to do the same. You should find your balance, but my balance is just 100% work, and I'm very comfortable in that position. So I don't always recommend to do what I do. I actually recommend to not do what I do, because it's not for everyone.
You're putting me onto another question that I hadn't planned, but you know, that idea of pursuing your passion, you know, the freedom that entrepreneurship affords to pursue your passion, be your own boss, that sort of thing, regardless of the hours, I think is a motivating factor for people in considering that path. And actually, I think even it's a motivating factor for some to consider an academic career, right? It's for similar reasons. I get to pursue my own interests and have that autonomy. And I imagine that some people on the research path go down that road and find that that is largely the case, and others maybe are disillusioned by what it's really like. So for your experience as an entrepreneur, how does your lived experience actually doing it stack up to what you had expected?
So when I was banding trees and cutting lawns growing up, I was listening to Audible books about how to build a company. And I was almost trying to envision what this process looks like. And when you listen to a book, because I'm a really slow reader because I'm a science student, and I 3x all my Audible books to get the information into my brain. I was sort of trying to envision you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then you get out the end and everything's wonderful. The reality about building a business is that none of that actually happens, and you just kind of get thrown into the fire. And then you sort of have to figure out as you're going what to do. And it's not this perfect sequence of first you got to hire your first employee, then make a sale, then do a second employee, then make a sale. It's quite the opposite. It's actually just absolute chaos every single day, and you just try to go through it with kind of the best knowledge that you have. So,
and I wonder too, like from company to company, I would say you could now maybe be called a serial entrepreneur. You knew where I was going. Having been the CEO of 6 companies, the first at age 10, right? So how does your experience in developing Geofilter Studios, for instance, differ from, I mean, you were talking in your talk about sort of the deep tech involved, the machine learning and the technology-driven aspects of Pluto Ventures, right, and the Parallel product. How does it differ? And also, what have you learned from doing Parallel, Pluto Ventures and the Parallel product that you didn't learn or didn't know or you maybe couldn't have known from your prior company?
So it's such a good question because, and as I look back, it's become very clear. So every business I build is quite different from the last one. And there's a few reasons for that. So first of all, the complexity of doing something new is, for me, very stimulating and exciting. And so I've built a company that sells products online. I could do that again, but it's almost like repeating a second time won't be as hard as the first time. And so something I'm going to do is every business I build is actually probably going to be quite different from my prior ones. And we actually look at even the marketing tactics of the 3 companies very different. So my tree banding company, the marketing tactic was walking up and down the street, knocking on doors and talking to people face to face. And my brothers would make fun of me because that's a very unscalable marketing tactic. I was 12. My Snapchat filter company was the Google ad campaign. My Parallel company, we're using TikTok. And so you have to understand that the type of business you build has different nuances that will need different marketing tactics and business revenues and everything, or business revenue models. So it's really kind of, it tickles my brain quite a bit with Parallel is the complexity of building a 3-sided marketplace. So we have brands, creators, and shoppers, and the gamification effects you have to build within the platform to really incentivize each 3 of those pillars. And it's really fun because the incentive for each person is different. So you think of a brand, their incentive is they want exposure and to sell product. A creator wants brand deals and to make money, and a shopper just wants enough content to find a shirt to buy. So these layers within layers I find really fascinating, and it's quite different from what I've done in the past, so it makes getting up in the morning quite easy because it's really challenging.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to the Q&A, but to wrap us up, if you knew then what you knew now, how would you have approached your studies or student experience differently? Or what advice would you leave our students with?
Ooh, it's dangerous for me to say this in the Faculty of Science. I may have added computer to my faculty name and gone through the Faculty of Computer Science. I'm self-taught on the coding side, so I don't have the education that my software engineers have when they come out of U of M and U of W. And I really envy their skill set because you can only teach yourself so much late at night off Code Academy. So I think if I was going through university again, I would probably have gone through computer science because it really translates well into running a tech company. But that being said, looking back, there was no way I would have known that. And so going through science and learning these skills and wanting to be a doctor was what I wanted to do. So I don't think I would have changed anything in that sense. I would have just gotten more computer science skills along the way.
So you learned a lot through your science program that are transferable skills, but you would have deepened your tech knowledge in your case, or in other people's cases, maybe interdisciplinary skills.
And it's definitely a catch-22 where if I went through computer science, would I have learned some of those critical problem-solving skills as well that you need to know to get through the chem, physics, bio labs in sciences. So I think either way, it would have been a U of M course that you would have gone through.
Closing advice for our students.
Oh man, that's such a good question. When I'm hiring people, the most important thing is, the first thing I look for is if you're a good person. That's full stop. Culture is the most important thing to me at my company. So quite honestly, I don't actually care your background, your experience, what you've done. If you're not a good person that's loyal, trustworthy, respectful, hardworking, it doesn't matter. So that is the first and foremost thing that I look for. Everything else is secondary. Obviously, what you can do, your skills is important. Culture is the reason that you're a successful company. If you have bad culture, you will not make it. If you have good culture, in 5 years at Pluto, no one has left my company. That is culture. If you have good culture, you will build a company that is successful. So I would say, 1, be a good person. 2, work really hard. When you're up late at night on a Sunday night studying for a course, just realize that I am also up at that exact same time writing emails, working. So if you ever have some motivation or need some motivation, send me a message on LinkedIn at Sunday night at 9 p.m. and I will kick you in the butt to keep working. So
Chris is thinking of you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking of you. So.
Well, thanks so much. And let's take some questions from the audience now.
Hi, Chris. First of all, really nice talk. So my question is a little bit leadership related. So what's your idea of an effective leader?
So I've been told many times that I'm way too nice. I've been told by my employees that I'm way too nice. My leadership style is being extremely respectful and extremely kind to my employees and not doing what, quite honestly, people like Steve Jobs did, which is yell their head off at employees. There's definitely pros and cons to both ways, but my mindset as a leader is very much like a sports team where we're a team, we're a unit. If I win, my entire team wins. If I lose, my entire team loses. And so the culture and the leadership that I have is lead by example. So I'm first in the, okay, a kid shows up at the office at 6 a.m. I can't be first in the office, I'm second in the office. So I'm second in the office, I'm always the last one to leave, and I lead by example by really doing. I'm not one of these guys that stands up in front of my office and does a massive speech to them. My actions will show how I want them to work. So tons of respect to my employees, and then lead by example through my actions would be my 2 things. Thank you.
Where am I going next? Who has a question?
Hi, thank you for your wonderful presentation. So my first question is, what is the business model of
Parallel?
geo filters?
Okay.
Is it B2C or B2B?
Okay, so the business model for GeoFilter Studio was, it was B2C, selling to consumers. We also sold to brands. The business model for Parallel, I get asked that a lot by my investors. We're actually just working on that now at the moment. But there's quite a few ways you can monetize attention. So when you have a user base and you have eyeballs on your site, there's quite a few ways you can actually monetize that. The question is, as the entire ecosystem of e-commerce shopping is shifting, and you can see what Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok are all doing, the question is, how do you build a business model that's going to be around in 5 to 10 years? Because the business model 10 years ago was just to put advertisements on a website. That doesn't work these days. So you have to figure out a new business model, and we're in the process of that at the moment. But if you have attention and people, you can monetize attention.
There was a question over here. Oh, I think I missed you. Yeah.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for the talk. Very interesting to know your history. I have actually two questions. The first one is, your companies, you found them by yourself or you have co-founders? And the second question is, if you have a company starting them and the culture is not right, it's kind of toxic, how you can actually fix it on time?
Okay, first question. Pluto is my first company that I've had a co-founder. So all my prior ones, it was just myself. Sometimes investors don't like companies with only one founder because statistically co-founders or three co-founders have a higher rate of success. My comment to that is I hire really, really good people and I empower them to have the freedom and ability for them to do what they do best. They don't have to have the co-founder title to be very impactful at my company. If you have toxic culture, and let's just say, so I was 23 years old managing 85 employees. I was unbelievably naive of how hard HR and culture is. My mindset was, I hire a whole bunch of people, I put them in a room, I treat them well, but everything's gonna be fine. That is not how this works. There were things that happened in our company that I can't even say up here, you wouldn't even believe it. So the motto is fire fast. It's rough, but that's what you have to do. So if you have bad apples, you have to get the bad apples out of there, and then you have to repair kind of where those bad apples left. So if you have whether it's a marketing lead or a business sales lead that's just toxic, get them out of there, and then fill that hole. And usually when you fill that hole initially, it's the founder filling that hole. So you take on that job, and then you find someone else to fill that hole. So fire fast. And there's always a misconception, I think, between perks and culture, very different things. So at Parallel, we have beer on tap, we have office dogs, we have flex hours, we have all that. Those are perks. Culture is understanding and respecting employees and understanding that if someone's having a bad afternoon, I will clear my calendar and I'll spend 2 to 3 hours talking to them about something not even related to work, but they're having an issue, so I'm gonna spend the time with them. The issue why culture is always lacking at companies is because it stems from the top down, so founder down, and it takes time and effort from my part to have good culture. So a lot of business owners, they say, oh, that employee's problem is not my issue, I just turn a blind eye. My mindset is, that employee is not happy, how can I help? And it's no longer this, I'm your boss, you're my employee, and it's from person to person, what can I do to help? So culture and perks, quite different. Throw the bad apples out as fast as you can and get new apples in. So yeah, hope that helps. Yeah.
I think this might be our last question.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for the talk. So it seems to me that you're a super passionate and driven person. My question to you is that how do you maintain and cultivate that passion and that drive? What do you do on a bad day? How do you bounce back?
So it usually shocks people when they find out that I actually don't drink coffee. I don't drink energy drinks. We have a big Red Bull fridge at the office, never touched it. So what you see here, this kind of energy and passion, This is pretty much me every single day. I think what it comes down to is, and my wife always makes fun of me about this. So Sunday night, I always ask her, are you excited about going to work tomorrow, like Monday morning? And she's a normal person, so her response is no. My response then is, am I allowed to stay up all night and just start the week early? And her response is, no, you have to go to bed. So she's my sane side. And so I think what happens is when you're doing something every single day, so you wake up Monday morning and you can actually do what you really want to do, this kind of excitement and passion just naturally happens. And you realize how fortunate you are that I can go to the office every day. I have all these amazing, smart people come to the office too. And quite honestly, we can do whatever we want within the investors' guidelines, obviously. But we have that freedom. And I think when you have freedom like that, you have the weight off your shoulder. And so waking up Monday morning for me, pure excitement. And this passion, once again, I think when you find what you love, it just becomes a very natural succession of excitement. So I think it's kind of fueled within just enjoying what you do and feeling fortunate that you can do what you like every single day. So yeah, good question. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chris, and thanks for all your fantastic questions and for coming. I think we have Dean Brian Mark to come and wrap us up.
So Chris, just so that everyone's clear on your degree, including the dean, you have a 3-year general degree, correct? Good.
That's true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you were focusing in on biology, biochemistry for medicine, and then you decided to take this different route. Wow.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for spending the time with us today. It was really wonderful. Thank you, Doug, for helping us endow this wonderful speaker series. And for all of you, keep your eyes out for the next one. We plan to have these as regularly as we can. And believe me, there are many exciting science graduates out there who have great careers that they will come and share with us. So Chris, we have a little token of appreciation for you.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much.
again, good luck with all of your future ventures.
Thank you. Thank you.